To this video lecture on core of section in a chapter direct and bending stresses which we study in mechanics of materials. Now when a column is subjected to eccentric load means when a point of application of load is at a distance from the axis of the column, in that case direct and bending stresses are developed. To find out the resultant stress, we need to take the algebraic sum of direct and bending stresses. After finding the resultant stresses, core of section is established. Now first let us see what is core of section. Now it is also called as kernel of a section. Now a core of section, basically it is an area of a cross section of a column on which load can be applied without causing tensile stress. Means when a load is applied over this particular section of a column or over this particular region of a column, whatever stresses are developed throughout the cross section of column, they are wholly compressive, means no tensile stress is allowed in this case. So for this particular example, now for a rectangular section of this column or for the circular section of this column, for this particular shaded area, if we apply a load throughout this region, throughout this shaded region, in that case whatever resultant stresses are developed over this cross section of this column, they will be wholly compressive, so no tensile stress will be developed in this case. Similarly for this circular cross section, here throughout this shaded region, if we apply the load, whatever resultant stresses will be developed over this cross section of column, they will be wholly compressive and no tensile stress will be developed in this case. So for this particular section or for this particular region of this column is called as a core of a section, or it is also called as a kernel of a section. So now it is expected first to study direct and bending stress before studying the core of section. So let us quickly revise what is direct and bending stress. Now when we have a column and when it is subjected to axial load, now here it is load P which is exactly acting along the axis of this column. The cross section of the column may be circular, may be rectangle. Now in this case, as we study that the direct stress is developed and this direct stress is denoted by sigma d, and which will be equal to, that is very simple equation, that is equal to P upon A in this case. So load per unit area will be getting here direct stress. Now in this case, as this load is compressive in nature, so the respective direct stress will be compressive in nature. And here if we draw the stress distribution diagram for this column, then we'll be getting here all the stresses are compressive in nature and they are constant or uniform throughout the section in this case. Now let us see the next case here. Now here the load is acting at some distance from the axis of this column. Now in this case, this load P is acting at a distance E from the axis of this column. It is called as eccentricity. So this load P is eccentric about the axis of this column. Now in this case, the column tends to buckle, and in this case now both direct stress and bending stresses are developed. Now direct stresses will be equal to P upon A as we discussed in the previous case. At the same time, the next type of stress is developed, that is a bending stress. It is happened because of the buckling of this column. So here the bending stress developed because of this eccentricity of this load. Here sigma B will be equal to plus minus PE upon Z. Now plus will use for compressive stress, minus will use for tensile stress. So because of the eccentricity of this load P, here the bending stress is developed and some stress will be compressive in nature and some stress will be tensile in nature. So you can see here the respective bending stress distribution diagram for this bending stress here, that is equal to P upon Z. So here some part of it is tensile, some part of it is compressive. So therefore now to find out the resultant stress here, we need to take algebraic sum of direct and bending stress. So particularly in the second case, when the load is eccentric, both direct stress and bending stresses are developed, and then to find out the resultant stress, we need to take the algebraic sum of direct stress plus bending stress. So here the resultant stress sigma will be equal to sigma d plus minus sigma b. Now plus sign will use it for compressive bending stress and minus sign will use it for tensile bending stress. So when we find here resultant stress, when we take one side of this column, then we need to take plus sign, because on one side there is a compressive bending stress and on other side there is a negative bending stress. So here we'll use it plus sign for compressive. So when we use plus sign, here we will be getting the resultant stress as maximum, and here when we use minus sign, here we will be getting resultant stress as a minimum in this case. So when we are finding resultant stress, we'll be getting two values. First value will be maximum stress, second value will be negative stress or minimum stress. So here in this case now, we need to establish now limit of eccentricity to establish the core of section. Now as we discussed, the resultant stress sigma is equal to sigma d plus minus sigma b. Now in this equation, if sigma d is greater than sigma b, so here in this particular equation, if we have sigma d is greater than sigma b, the total resultant stress will be positive in this case. So here in this case we can say the resultant stress is compressive in nature. So here when we will be drawing the stress distribution diagram for resultant stress, here we will be getting two values, once again sigma max and sigma minimum. In this case, in both the cases, maximum and minimum stress, here you will be getting the both stresses are compressive in nature. So for this particular condition, when direct stress is greater than bending stress, here all the resultant stresses are compressive on both edges or both sides of this column. Now let us see the next case here. If we have sigma d equals to sigma b, means whatever direct stresses we have, they are equal to the bending stresses. In this case now, when we are equating sigma d and sigma b as both are equal in this case, either you will be getting it as a twice sigma d or twice sigma b if both are positive. If we here we use minus sign, here in that case it will be 0. So here minimum stress will be 0 and maximum stress will be twice of either sigma d or sigma b. So when we are drawing the respective stress distribution diagram, on one side you will be getting sigma max and other side you will be getting sigma minimum. Here sigma minimum will be 0 in this case and sigma max will be here twice sigma d or twice sigma b, and here it is positive in this case. So now if we observe here two cases here, either sigma minimum or sigma max, here both these stresses are compressive in nature. Now let us discuss the last case. Here if we have sigma d is less than sigma b, means direct stress is less than bending stress, then what will happen? Then here we'll get the respective stress distribution diagram like this. Some stresses will be compressive, some stresses will be tensile in this case. Now here if we observe now all these three cases, for first two cases the resultant stresses are wholly compressive, or all these stresses are compressive in nature. So you can find here no tensile stress is developed in first two cases. Now that is expected to establish core of section, where core of section is basically where when we apply the load no tensile stress is allowed in that case. So here to obtain now core of section, we can use this condition sigma b, that is the bending stress, it must be either less than sigma d, means less than direct stress, or it should be equal to sigma d. So here as we know sigma b is Pe upon Z, where Z is the section modulus for the particular section, E is the eccentricity and P is the load, and here sigma d as we discussed it is P upon A, that is a direct stress. Now when we simplify this, here you will be getting E, either it should be equal to Z upon A or it should be less than Z upon A, where Z is the section modulus for this particular cross section and A is the area of cross section of that particular column. So here this is the ideal condition for core of section. Now using this condition we can find or we can locate the core of section for any cross section. It may be rectangular, it may be circular. Now let us discuss for rectangular cross section how we can define core of section. Now for rectangular cross section, the section modulus, as we know that it is equal to 1 upon 6 b into d square, where b is the breadth and d is the depth for that particular cross section. Area of cross section we can simply find it as equal to b into d. So for no tension condition, that is for core of section, as we discussed that E should be either less than or equal to Z upon A. So now when we'll put value of Z and A in this case, when we will simplify this here you'll be getting E should be equal to D by 6, or it should be less than D by 6 in this case. So let us see how to locate it in a particular cross section. Now here if we see now this rectangular cross section, these are the two axes here of this particular cross section. Now from the center or from the axis of this particular cross section of this column here, from this center, this is B by 6 and this is B by 6. So within this region of this column here, when we place a load on this region here over this axis now, that is B by 6 and B by 6, within this range here, the stresses will be compressive in nature. Similarly, from this axis again, on this axis it is at a D by 6 and D by 6. So when we join all these 4 points, we get here one rhombus, and here when we locate this particular shaded region in this cross section here, total distance or the diagonal distance of this will be getting as B by 3 here, and it is D by 3 here. So in a simplified way here, on this particular now region, we can say now this is the particular region which we say it is a core of section for this particular rectangular section. So within this region, if we apply any load here within this region, whatever stresses are developed throughout the cross section of this column, they will be wholly compressive. So hence we can say now, hence load lies between middle third of breadth, that is B by 3, or depth or middle third of depth, that is D by 3 of a section. No tension is developed, that is no tensile stresses are developed, means all the stresses are wholly compressive. This particular rule is called as middle third rule, which is applicable for rectangular cross section of a column. Now let us quickly see how to locate the core of section for circular section. Now for circular section, first of all, section modulus is equal to pi d cube by 32, where d is the diameter of the circular section. Area of a section A is equal to pi d raised to 4 upon 4. Now for no tension condition, E should be either less than or equal to Z by A. Now when we'll put value of Z and A for a circular section, here finally we'll be getting E should be less than or equal to D by 8 in this case. So here we can show in the diagram for this particular cross section, that is a circular cross section, from the center of the circular cross section, here on this side it is D by 8, from this side it is D by 8. So total here you will be getting the total diameter of this region will be getting as a D by 4. So over this region, if we apply any compressive load or any load on this cross section of this column, in this case whatever resultant stresses will be developing over this cross section will be wholly compressive in nature. So for circular cross section, E should be less than or equal to D by 8, means when we are locating the region, the diameter of that particular region which is now circular in nature, it should be equal to D by 4 in this case. Now similarly, we can establish the core of section for hollow rectangular cross section, for hollow circular section also. Thank you.